When Aneg awoke, Mirglim was still sprawled on the floor, his breath rasping loudly. "Oh," she muttered as she rose, pressing her throbbing temples, feeling her belly turn. How much wine had they drunk? She stumbled her way to the kitchen, winced at the sun as she unshuttered the windows. She built a fire in the stove, then opened the walk-in pantry in the diffuse light, and considered the sausages hanging in bundles, the long blades of salted porkfish, barrels of flour, salt, sugar, rice, the pitiful basket of mostly wilted vegetables. There were eggs on the counter, still warm, so Tai must be up and doing his job, which wasn't always the case. And there was her mother's antique leather-bound spice case with its 78 bottles of seeds and dried leaves. Everything she needed. Mirglim wondered in a few minutes after the garlic and chilies hit the oil and the air went sharp and pungent. "I'm too sick to eat," he complained. "You'll eat this," Aneg told him. "And you'll like it. Old Tenny used to make this for Dad, before we couldn't afford her anymore." "If that's so, why is it different every time you make it?" "Last time it had peanuts and pickled pork, not chilies and garlic." "We don't have any pork pickle," she replied. "It's not the specific ingredients that matter, it's the principles of composition, the balance of essences, flavors, oils, and herbs." Saying that, she emptied the spices she had ground a bit before with mortar and pestle, and the earthy scents of coriander, cardamom, lady's mantle seeds, and ginger wafted about the kitchen. She added 2 handfuls of crushed rice, stirred that a bit, covered it with a finger of coconut milk, and set it to simmer with a lid on the pot. When the porridge was done, she ladled it into bowls and added slices of venison sausage, red ham, and pickled watermelon rind. "That looks disgusting," Mirglim said. "Not done yet," she said. She broke 2 eggs and dropped them, raw, into each bowl. Glim perked up and his tongue licked out. "Goose eggs? Aha. Maybe I will try it." She set a bowl in front of him, and after an experimental bite, he began downing it with gusto. Aneg tucked into her own. "I already feel better," Mirglim said. "See? Yes, yes." She took another bite. "So tell me more about this floating city," she said. "When is it supposed to be here?" Ix said they outpaced it for 3 days and it never changed course before they finally got the wind they needed to really leave it behind. "It was headed straight here," he said, "and will arrive sometime early tomorrow at the pace it's coming." So what did he figure it was? A big chunk of rock, shaped like a top. They could see buildings on the rim. The ship's wind caller didn't like it. Quit the minute they got into port and left town, fast, on a horse. What didn't the wind caller like? He kept saying it wasn't right, that none of his magics could tell him anything about it. Said it smelled like death. Did anyone take word to the organism? "I can never understand you two when you're together," a soft voice whispered. She turned her gaze to the door and found her father standing there. "That smells good," he went on. "Is there any for me?" "Sure take," she said. "I made plenty." She ladled him up a bowl and passed it. He took a spoonful and closed his eyes. "Better than Tennythor's," he said. "Always in the kitchen, weren't you?" "You learned well. Do you know anything about this?" Aneg said a bit impatiently. It always bothered her, talking to her father, and she knew it shouldn't, and that bothered her twice. But he sounded so soul-weak, as if most of his spirit had leaked out of him. "I wasn't kidding," he said. "You've been like this since you were children. I recognize a few words here and there." Aneg waved the old complaint aside. "This flying city that's supposed to be heading toward us. Do you know anything about that?" "I know the stories," he sighed, picking at the stew. "It started with Erwin," Aneg rolled her eyes. "Crazy old Sijic priest. Or whatever they call themselves. Said he felt something out in the deep water, a movement of some kind. So, yes, he's crazy and the Inzalil are irritated by him, especially Archwarden Kajalil, so he was dismissed. But then there were the reports from the sea, and the organisms sent out some exploratory ships. And they're still out there, looking for a phantom probably.